Hey there, thinkers, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Hit. My name is Us.
And I'm Pin, and today we're talking about Disney again. Well, we're talking about Disney in the sense that we're talking about Nelson Peltz in his proxy battle with Disney. Now, we talked about this about 3 weeks ago, and we predicted that his old buddy Ike Perlmutter was going to be in on this. And sure enough, looks like this is...
Rooting from the sidelines.
Rooting from the sidelines, and, you know, with all of his backing and support, being the single largest... single person that owns the largest amount of Disney shares out there.
Well, let's get into it.
Nelson Peltz teams up with fired Marvel CEO Ike Perlmutter to hold $2.5 billion stake in Disney as ex-comic book boss says he can't watch movie giant underachieve its great potential. So if you don't know who Ike Perlmutter was, or is I should say, Ike Perlmutter was the one who sold Marvel to Disney. Now, he didn't own all of Marvel, but he owned the majority stake of it. He got about $4 billion in cash and shares at the time, and it made him the single largest shareholder in Disney. Now, I shouldn't say single largest. I believe that's BlackRock, but he actually owns the most for a single individual at about $2.5 billion in stock is what he had. Now, this is a little misleading because he owns $2.5 billion, but Peltz Trian Management also owns $2.5 billion. So between the two of them, they have just over 60 million shares or so, which represents just about 4% of Disney. When you're talking about Disney and being that large of a company and owning that much of it, that's a very significant stake in it.
Owning 4% of Disney?
Owning 4%. Yeah, so I think BlackRock actually has about 8%. I can't remember off the top of my head, somewhere around there. And there's some other big venture capital and big investment firms that have similar-ish, but right now, between the two of them, I mean, they're in the top 5. And realistically, when you have that many shares voting for who's on the board of directors, in a company this large, you tend to get your say, let's say, a lot more than other people do.
Throwing your weight around, for sure.
Disney activist investor Nelson Peltz boosted his effort to claim company board seat after former Marvel executive Ike Perlmutter entrusted his stake to him. I'm not going to read that line. This is what I get when I go to Daily Mail. Of course, this is celebrity gossip. They're quoting a whole bunch of Wall Street Journal here, but I'm not going to pay for the Wall Street Journal, so I'm going to read it from here. But the 81-year-old Trian Investment Fund holds about 33 million shares, making it one of the largest investors out of Disney's 1.8 billion shares. And that's so again, that represents just under 2%, but or just under. But again, Ike Perlmutter owns about 30 million shares as well. That's what gives him about the 4%. But part of the stock investment firm controls is under the arrangement that gives Peltz firm sole voting power over Perlmutter's shares, according to the Wall Street Journal. And for those new to equity at all, what happens every year, there's a vote that essentially it happens, and the board of directors will always put forward recommendations for who should be hired onto the board. I know, as weird as it sounds.
Okay.
Then your shares get a vote. It's
like in good trust, you can hold my shares to help you with this.
Well, he's actually given the rights. But how this works when you're doing the voting is that every share gets a vote. So the more shares you have, the more power you get. If you've ever been in cryptocurrency, it's very similar to like proof of stake, let's say, kind of concept, where essentially every single share you have or every single crypto you have would give you that, one vote towards it, not an individual vote. Every share gets the individual vote. So the more money you got, the more power you got. When you have 4%, it matters a lot because your votes or your say, it goes a lot further for who goes on the board of directors. And why does the board of directors matter? Because the board of directors, of course, doesn't get to control what happens in the company. But the board of directors are directly responsible for who hiring the CEO. And they're actually directly responsible for determining how much he gets paid. His compensation package, such as shares, money, all the different things you might see. So they can set objectives, goals, and essentially he has to meet those. And in the last 15 years since Bob Iger's been CEO, over that now actually.
Yeah, a little bit over that now.
Oh, a little over that. 18 years since Bob Iger's been CEO, he stacked the board in his favor. In fact, in his book, and Michael Eisner, the previous CEO of Disney, has kind of stated that his big falling out, or why he kind of had to really let go, was he didn't have enough control over the board. With Michael Eisner, when he lost CEO, of course, he led Disney through the Renaissance, great cartoon movies. But what happened was he lost faith in Disney back in the early 2000s. Bob Iger was president. He ended up being CEO, who was supposed to always take over for Bob Iger. But Michael Eisner actually had a hard time letting go as well. But he didn't have control over the board. So, of course, Bob Iger wasn't going to make that mistake, and he has certainly stacked the board in his favor over the past 18 years. And in doing so, that's the reason it's so hard to get rid of him. That's the reason Bob Chapek never actually had control of Disney, because...
He had Disney, but didn't have the board. Because Bob Iger was just controlling them through them.
Well, and Bob Iger didn't really leave, too. He had like a proxy
exactly.
after
He even
a
had
year
his own
after.
office still.
He never gave up the office. So the big thing here is that whoever has the board of directors, typically that has to work in the best interest of the shareholders to make profit. In fact, you can almost get sued if you're not doing that by the shareholders, because that's like your sole responsibility. The company's supposed to make profit. But as we get more into this, as someone with large economic interest in Disney's success, I can no longer watch the business underachieve its great potential. That was, of course, Perlmutter said in a statement provided to Yahoo Finance. This is Nelson Peltz. Mm-hmm. He owns about $2.5 billion worth of the company's shares. That's, of course, in Trian Management, which is his investment firm. And then you got just below that, that's those two are the ones that own a lot of Disney.
Yeah.
I urge Disney's board to immediately welcome one or more of Trian board candidates, including Trian CEO and founding partner Nelson Peltz, into the boardroom. I believe Nelson and Trian can help Disney's leadership better navigate the company's challenges and opportunities. I know Bob Iger doesn't think so. He thinks he's the only man that can get them through this, and he just keeps running into the ground.
Bob forbid.
Bob. He probably has that on a plaque somewhere in his office.
Bob forbid.
I don't know for sure. It wasn't in his book, of course, but I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Educated guess. Perlmutter said he was fired from Marvel Entertainment in March for pushing too aggressively to cut costs. Yeah, at the time, they had let him go, or they said they let him go based on redundancy.
Wasn't that part of like the 7,000 cuts or something like that?
That's what they were saying at the time, but
whatever.
Realistically, he got into a big spat with Kevin Feige, who runs Marvel over there, or doesn't run it solely, but he definitely runs the whole production side. And when they got into the spat, Ike Perlmutter used to oversee all of Marvel, and he got relegated to the comic side of Marvel. And you had Kevin Feige doing all the MCU, or the cinematic universe. And then slowly over time, Perlmutter kept saying we have to get our budgets under control. Disney's going out of control with this. We can't just be all about whatever we get in the box office. It has to be about profit over, making $1 billion. Because if we only make $200 million, I'd rather make $400 million if we spend less, for instance. So I want to make more profits. It shouldn't be about trying to achieve that billion figure. It should be trying to achieve as much as we can and being as lean as possible. Disney didn't like that, is how it turns out.
No, I feel like Disney has become very flashy. They need to show a bunch of explosives and CGI and multiverses. And
expensive CGI everywhere. When really and truly, I think people are screaming out at this point for some practical effects now and again.
We do.
Not always CGI is the answer. So as we get further into this, Peltz' first proxy war in January called on Disney to restore the magic. Amid criticism, the media conglomerate had become too political.
That too.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but they rated Disney in the top 5 most political companies. I'm forgetting the name of the list.
Don't worry, I'll find it.
Yeah. If you haven't noticed, S has been doing all the editing for the last couple weeks. She's way better than I am, so if you like it, please let her know down in the comments. But
Aw, thank you. Yeah, let me know what you guys think.
He withdrew his initial fight after Iger unveiled a cost-cutting plan involving 7,000 layoffs and restructuring to save around $5.5 billion. Those are the Chapek cuts. He just carried through with them. And you know what? He also said he would bring back the dividend, which he still hasn't done. And we all knew it wasn't going to be very big, but he never brought back the dividend. However, Disney's shares plummeted by 12.5% over last year and has prompted the activist investor to renew his bid for power. And in fact, he went from owning about 10 million shares, I think it was just under, to 33 million now.
Yeah, he's significantly increased his portfolio.
Yeah, when he said, I'll be watching, he also meant I will be gaining more and more shares to bring this proxy fight back harder and faster than ever.
As I collect more things to get back to you to give you more trouble.
Yeah, he pulled like a Batman Begins, at the end when he said a whole bunch of people buying shares. It's all a little complicated. But, this is Ike Perlmutter. This is when he is friends with ex-President Donald Trump. Or I guess you still say former President Donald Trump in that case. The ex-Marvel CEO said he was fired for pushing too hard to cut costs. There's Bob Iger, that's the CEO.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's another reason why he got fired too, because he was friends with Donald Trump.
I don't think it helped him in Hollywood.
Definitely not.
I don't think
that
it helped
ever
him.
helps you knowing Donald Trump.
I don't. Not in Hollywood. I don't think it helped him. That's Bob Iger, who said recently, a couple months ago, he's been overwhelmed and exhausted trying to get the company back on track. I mean, yeah, because you made it. You made a big disaster. You made a big disaster. Of course you're over it. Now, this isn't the current stock price. That's just above $80, but
he wants us to feel bad for cleaning
it's been hovering. And I did also make a stock prediction, I think about 3 weeks ago, or maybe one of the earlier videos. I said it looked to me like they were going down to actually high 60s is what it looked like to me. I dibble-dabble in technical analysis. Don't mind me.
You know what? Honestly, it's on the downtrend, so it could possibly still get there. You just might be a little too early by calling your prediction.
Well, yeah, I meant long term for sure. That's where it looked like it was going. But also, anytime a macro factor like this comes along, where you got someone like Nelson Peltz coming by that could raise stock price, that can absolutely throw technical analysis out the window and could bring stock value back up, which we did see it go back to $85 after he announced he's kind of back out on the proxy fight. As it goes on here, in September, Iger revealed the company will quiet the noise around cultural issues because it has been shown to be bad for business.
For the past, honestly, I kid you not, like 18 years.
No, for the past 9 years. For the past 9 years,
since 2012,
almost every day on the day, CNBC, or for the last 4 years, it's been CNBC, or another article or a publication has been releasing something saying Bob Iger is going to quiet the noise.
Yep.
I kid you not, 9 years now it's been going on.
Don't worry, he's going to quiet the noise this year. I'm just laughing.
It's going to finally happen. But the House of Mouse has been stuck in a legal battle with the Florida government and Ron DeSantis after former CEO Bob Chapek criticized the so-called Don't Say Gay bill. And that was the Parental Rights and Education bill. But the big thing here is that they stood against... Disney got involved in a political spat.
Where they shouldn't have.
Now, that was Bob Chapek, credit where credit's due. And apparently, Ron DeSantis even called Bob Chapek to say, don't do this. Don't come out.
Okay,
but he did
my
it
little thing about that, Bob Chapek saying that thing, is because I think it was actually Bob Iger, and that's the whole entire reason why Bob Chapek was there, to do that. And that's where the whole downfall came out, and that's why Bob Iger is back in.
I 100% agree with you. I think Bob Iger kind of forced him.
Fall.
I think Bob Iger kind of forced his hand.
I need to do this, and you need to take the fall for me, dude.
I think he said, you have to, our stakeholders now are our employees, and we have to support them. Mm-hmm. And I agree with that to some extent, but when you come out against your biggest demographic, that is never going to work out for your business. Because your biggest demographic is families, parents. That was about supporting parents. It's not kids who go and see your films over and over and over again.
In fact, the kids nowadays have no interest in your films, have no interest in romance, have absolutely no interest in Star Wars. And it's your own fault.
Well, yeah, but it's parents that take the kids to there, right? DeSantis targeted Disney's special tax district, replaced the board of it with his allies, and led the charge to change the name of the Reedy Creek District down there to Central Florida Tourism and Oversight District, which was a special district, which isn't odd to have one in Florida, but it was definitely odd to have the powers that that Disney had. You know, they could have built an airport. They could have built a nuclear power plant.
Oh, they were their own entity. If they wanted to be their own little continent inside America, they could have been.
Well, they had their own power to do almost anything they wanted to.
They had their own rules, their own regulations, their own fire department.
Now, again, it's not really weird to have your own special district, but to have as much power as they had, especially because Universal asked for one, and Universal got told to go pound sand just a couple years ago.
However, Universal has been getting some extra benefits lately.
Yeah, so...
tit for tat.
Well, it still isn't what Disney ever had.
No, but it's definitely better than what they have now.
So Disney, of course, has since dropped a massive chunk of its federal lawsuit against Florida, and they asked a federal judge for permission to file an amendment complaint focusing just on the First Amendment claim. DeSantis has urged Disney to drop its case because he has moved to run for president. I think at the moment he has, in his eyes, bigger fish to fry. And Disney just wants to be out of this legal battle to begin with. They can't get their special district back, so at best they're just going to get the Florida government being told to leave them alone.
Well, imagine how much money they're probably sinking into that lawsuit, by the way, going to the Supreme Court.
They pay their chief counsel, I think it's $15 million a year, just to be on retainer. Yeah, they have lots of money. Disney has raised the cost of tickets to some of its theme parks by up to 10% ahead of the investment. And the company has been faced with losses from Disney Plus streaming business, which is expected to become profitable only next year. And he's facing almost a $900 million loss following a series of woke flops at the box office. That's just its box office, by the way. $900 million loss. It's also lost money, $400 million on running most of its operations with its streaming service. It did make money in its parks. I don't want to tell any lies there. It absolutely did. But in its North American parks, there were specific outliers that they weren't doing so well. So Disney has announced Friday that the release of the live-action Snow White film will be delayed a full year after star Rachel Zegler sparked anger with a tirade of woke fury.
Yeah, oh, you think? Oh my goodness. They were so mad. They were so irate about this whole Snow White film that they put this on a back burner, and I don't know what they're doing with this. Yeah, so they're CGI'd, but like, I don't understand this. Why are we getting a live action with CGI characters from animated characters of animated characters that are not really so endearing?
They did it with Lion... I mean, it's to make money. They did it with Lion King. They did it with Pinocchio. You know, they're just going to keep re-releasing. They're scared to try something new. And I mean, they're just going to keep destroying old properties. Because the thing with making a sequel is you have a built-in fan base. But the problem is, when you differentiate from the original so much, you lose the built-in fan base. You're defeating the whole purpose of doing a remake or a sequel because you're not sticking to what made that successful. That's a crazy purpose.
And it's just nothing but like green screen movies. No one likes this.
So this is big news. But it looks like Nelson Peltz is going to have some big things in store for Disney. And I, for one, am super excited. Because I think we're going to see... Anyways, I've said my piece. That's all I got. You got anything else?
No, I have nothing else to say here. If you guys have made it this far, please do like and subscribe. That'd be great.
Thanks for sticking with us. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. And like I said, let us know if you like the new editing. I think S is pretty good at this, but you know, let everyone else decide. I got a bias here. So.
I'm trying to get the hang of it, but if you have any tips or tricks, please let me know.
All right, we'll see you guys in the next video.
See you guys in the next video. Toodles!
Bye, guys.